So you've heard the hype about AI and ChatGPT, and you've probably already played with it. But do you know how to really supercharge it?
Welcome to Fordify Live with your host, Ford Saeks.
Well, today you're in for a special treat, everybody, because I've got a good friend, fellow Hall of Fame keynote speaker. Yes, we're both in the Hall of Fame. Sam Richter. Sam, welcome to today's episode of Fordify. Now, we are live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube, but welcome to the show.
Hey, it's really great to be, and you forgot one of the most important things. My fellow St. Louis Park Oriole High School colleagues, because I doubt it. There could be Ford, but I think we might be the only two Hall of Fame speakers that grew up in the same town together.
And went to the same high school. So I 100% agree, fellow Minnesotan and Oriole. So welcome to the show. Now, you and I both speak on this topic to corporations and associations. We work with technology, but you're really known as a digital information expert. So now if you're listening to this on the podcast, everybody, or watching this on the video replay, it's Sam Richter, Richter, and his website is just his name, Sam Richter, Richter.com. Now, he's known as a digital information expert, but like I said, Hall of Fame keynote speaker, best-selling author. He has created generative AI programs for his clients. He's known for pulling the juice, the secret sauce out of Google and helping in a variety of vertical and different industries. So let's jump right into it. This is an open conversation like we talked about in the green room. What do you see some of the challenges facing people in AI? And then let's talk about some of the solutions and how you've helped other organizations and how our listeners and viewers can use AI more effectively. Because we have all people from this. And if you have a question, enter it into the chat below. But we have people who think they're rock stars, but they don't know what they don't know, right? So let's open their eyes to the possibilities and what they should be thinking about.
Well, I think the first thing is there's a huge difference between AI and generative AI. So if I can summarize it, AI is for lack of a better term, it's a rules-based system. Meaning, like when I build software, so I build a lot of technology for my clients. When I build software, a traditional AI is kind of if I input X, then I expect Y on the output. If Y doesn't occur, I change X. That's traditional AI. Now, there's machine learning that sits on top of that. Kind of different topic. That's traditional AI, more of a rules-based engine. So, for example, if I go into Google and if I type in, sometimes Google, you look at it and goes, "How is Google so smart?" That's basically AI. It's a rules-based engine that says, as I type in these letters, let's look into our massive database and instantly recommend what we believe based on the database and the search, what the results should be. Generative AI is completely different. And the key here is the word generative. So generative AI, by definition, it's going to be different every single time we use it. Not only that, so Ford, if you and I go in and type in keynote speaker into Google, we're going to get the exact same results. Now, your results might be sorted different than mine because your Google, based on your search history, is going to use AI to sort your results different. But if there's 500,000 results, we're pretty much both going to get to 500,000 results.
Right.
But if we use generative AI and say, "Hi, I'm a professional speaker. I'd like to write a sales proposal. I'd like to speak at an association conference." Based on the prompts that you put in, your response is going to generate something completely different than my response. So I think the first thing is letting people know that AI is not generative AI, completely different.
And the main programs, and so I know a lot of people have heard of it by this live broadcast. You know, everybody's heard of ChatGPT and Bard.
Sure.
And then they've gotten seduced by technology because there's thousands of these derivatives of people like you and me who've created our own AIs based on the generative model, right? I mean, I was using AI back before it was public like this. I was using Jasper, which used to be called Jarvis, and we were using Synthesia and Copy.ai and Quillbot and a lot of these other ones, which I've all canceled, by the way, except for a few now because I use ChatGPT for most of the things I do because it keeps on getting better. And we all know that by fall, computers, well, we're in fall, but by the first of the year, Computers are going to have AI built into it. Apple has already talked about building AI into their chips. I've talked about this on other episodes. Intel is building AI into their chips because they know that people want to be able to keep their data set, private and use generative AI. Microsoft's putting it into their programs through Copilot. Google is putting it in with Gemini. So we know there's all these choices. And what I'd like you to share with what are some of the things that you've done, that you've created to solve the problem? Again, we've known each other for decades, and we're in the National Speakers Association and been on committees together. I mean, really, I love networking with you as a mastermind partner because we're both critical thinkers, right? I mean, we're both pretty straight shooters. And so if you're listening to this show, this is for informational and educational purposes only. Do not blame us or our sponsors for anything we will say, because we can say pretty much whatever we want to say. So let's jump right into what are some of the things, because you're a really smart thinker. When I think about problem solvers using technology, I mean, you're the top of the list. What have you offered now, and what can people use to leverage the tools that you've created?
Yeah, so let's talk about AI tools. So the problem with doing AI, let's say a Google search, to do a really good Google search, you have to input, remember it's a rules-based engine, oftentimes a very lengthy, it's called Boolean logic, which stems from the 18th century mathematician George Boole, and he created Boolean algebra. So Boolean logic, to get a really good search result, it's a lot of these different terms that you have to use. And one of my keynote presentations is, I like to say in all of my keynote presentations, I pull back the curtain on the Wizard of Oz. Right, Wizard of Oz. Sure. Remember Dorothy and the Yellow Brick Road. All this magic occurs, but then about halfway through the movie, they pull back the curtain, and you see it's really this little dude, and he's pushing buttons and pulling levers. So I like to pull back the curtain on the Wizard of Oz and teach people what's going on. Because if you know what's going on, then when you are starting to use tools that leverage, whether it's AI or generative AI, you're going to get much better results. Long-winded way of saying, to do a really good Google search, you've got to use this mathematical algorithm. And so what I've created are overlays that sit on top of that. So typically, Google allows you to do a 30-word search. LinkedIn as an example, because all these search engines use some variation of these algorithms. LinkedIn allows you to do a 10-word search. I've created a technology using AI that sometimes will do a 600 to 800-word search. What does that mean in practical terms? Let's say you're looking for human resource manager at 3M. Well, most of us are smart enough to know you go into Google, you type in human resource 3M, or you go into LinkedIn, human resource 3M, and you'll get great results. But you won't get the person who's vice president of employee engagement. You won't get the person who's vice president of talent acquisition, because a system like AI is rules-based. Yep. So it's saying you're looking for human resources. It won't even find HR. So what I built is a technology that leverages AI to search for all the synonyms of those types of words. So that's an AI system because it's still rules-based. I'm giving it the rule. I'm telling it what it's supposed to do. Now, some of the generative AI systems I've developed are completely different. So the generative AI systems, and you know this, Ford, we talk about garbage in, garbage out.
Yep.
Most people, they go into generative AI. We'll use ChatGPT as in our example. They go into ChatGPT. They say, write me come up with a creative idea to market my small business. And ChatGPT will do a pretty good job. But ChatGPT, generative, and then, so GPT stands for Generative Pre-Training Transformer. The generative.
Whoops.
Oh, no problem.
Keep going. I thought I would leave the audio on, but as soon as I pushed the slide, it went out. So let's keep going. This is live, everybody. So let's go back into generative AI. I thought I was going to put a visual up, but it took the audio out. Keep going.
Don't worry about it. So generative, meaning it's going to be a brand new result every time. Pre-training means that it's only going to give you a result based on the content that it's been trained on. So, for example, Google's trained on theoretically everything on the internet. ChatGPT is only trained on the data that's been, for lack of a better term, uploaded into the OpenAI system. Now, it's a big number. Last I've heard, it's like close to 1 trillion, but it's only that on training. Now, what's different between generative AI and regular AI, for lack of a better term, is the transformer. What does it mean? For the first time in history, we have a system that actually looks at the context of words.
The intent.
So it was actually created by, if we say, so the godfather of this is Geoffrey Hinton, and he created this thing called neural networks. But what it does is it allows humans, we think with nuance. It's not X in, Y out. We think with nuance. And Geoffrey Hinton created this thing called hidden layers. All right, getting too much into the weeds here. But what that allows us to do, thank you, because for the first time in history, we finally have technology, Intel, NVIDIA, all these chips are powerful enough that it can actually think like a human brain, neural networks. It thinks with nuance, and it creates context. Now, why is that so important? Some of the generative AI tools I've created, again, Ford, you know this, to get a good result, you have to put a lot of information in. What are your goals? Who are you? Who's your intended audience? What are you trying to achieve? Generative AI, unlike Google, where you type in a couple words, results come up, generative AI, you have to have a conversation. I like to say, and I've heard you say this as well, Ford, you have to treat generative AI like a new employee.
Yes.
And just like you're talking, when I hire a new employee, I don't just say, here you go, write a sales proposal for me.
Right.
I have to tell that new employee who I am, what are my goals, what are my mission, my values, what's important to me, how I want my proposal written. I like my proposals written with subheads, bullet points, bold headlines, and tables. If you want a good result out of ChatGPT, you have to do the same thing. Yep. So just like I did with Google searching, I built a system that basically you put in 1 or 2 words, and I use AI to build an 800-word mathematical query. Same thing with some of the generative AI systems I'm building, where I actually pre-program it with the types of responses that I expect.
100%. So, yeah, go ahead. I want to make sure I get
where that sounds simple. The crazy part of building anything with generative AI, when I build an AI system, again, put something in, expect Y out. If Y doesn't get what I want, I change X. Generative AI, it just makes stuff up. There is no logical reason why you get some of the responses. The reason for that, I could tell you why that happens. The reason for that is those neural networks. Google looks at its database. When I go in, type in keynote speaker, it's going to look at its database, find every result with the phrase keynote speaker. Generative AI is going to look at the context. Well, what kind of keynote speaker? Is it motivational, business, humorous? And based on the context of all the surrounding words, it's going to give a best result. Google gives you an exact result. Generative AI is a big guessing game. It's making a prediction. It's making a prediction based on the context of all the words around it. That's why sometimes we hear, generative AI is a liar. No, it's not. You just didn't put enough information on the front end to allow it to make an accurate prediction. Okay, I just rambled there. I hope it made sense.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm going to do a quick reset for everybody. So first things first, there's the biggest mistake. So I'm going to do a quick summary of some of the key takeaways, and then let's move on to the next topic here on the same theme here. So number 1, garbage in, garbage out. Number 2, do not treat how you use any AI tool, ChatGPT, Bard, Synthesia, Merv, Descript, all these other tools. Do not treat them like an expert, treat it like an intern. And remember, there are vast differences, right? So don't treat it like Google. Be more specific in how you do it. Number 3, it all comes down to the prompt. It's about having customized, complex conversations and having a narrative. So you may have to train it by saying, I'm an expert on franchise growth, and here's a sample of my book, or here are 3 recent blog posts. I want you to review them, or here's 5 videos. And then you're training it just like you would a new employee. And remember that to be effective on the prompts, you have to be very specific. You have to be complex. You have to add a persona. You have to tell it how you want it formatted. What kind of results do you want? Then you have to ask, do you understand? And most importantly, you should say 2 things. do you understand? And if not, ask me questions until you do. And then two other things, cite your sources and justify your answers. So when I put anything into AI, I always say, cite your sources, because I want to know, where did it come up with it? Because we know it's biased, it can hallucinate, it can lie, it can give you completely bogus answers, and you want to be careful of data privacy and security purposes for anything having to do with AI. Now, if you've joined us late, we're talking to Sam Richter at samrichter.com. And so for those of you who know, we're both speakers and experts and authors, and we go out and we help businesses be more effective leveraging technology. So now that they understand the basics, what are some key takeaways that if they're in leadership or a business owner, what should they do to leverage these new tools? So one, you can do a shameless plug if you've got something available, or you're giving away a bonus, or what we would call in marketing a lead magnet. I mean, go ahead and talk about what are some of the things that the listeners and viewers can actually do now that they know what to do and the basics of prompting. What's the next step that they should be focusing on?
Well, I think the big thing, and I'll talk about some of the tools that are free to use, and I'll talk about a couple premium ones as well. But at a higher level, if I'm a business leader or even a solopreneur, the big challenge we have is this technology is changing at such a rapid pace. I don't know about you, Ford, but before, let's call it a year ago, before ChatGPT really came out, well, really a year ago, now that we think of the date, but, I would probably read an hour a day. It would keep me pretty up to date on technology. I'm reading 4 hours a day, and I'm woefully behind.
Not to interrupt you, but every time I speak, I'm doing 3 events this weekend. I'm going to Toronto and Atlanta and North Carolina. And literally I got hired for a 4-city tour for Choice Hotels, Choice Owners Council. And I was doing this topic in all their regions. Every week it was different, because all of a sudden it can see now. Now ChatGPT, you can upload a photo, and then the advanced code interpreter got more powerful, and now it can connect with Bing. And I mean, so this topic, the takeaway is it's accelerating at a speed faster than light. And the key is a lot of the things that we're sharing on today's episode are giving you the critical thinking skills, not the bells and whistles. Yes, we're going to get into the weeds, but it's the point is he's spending 4 hours a week or a day. I'm spending probably not 4 hours, but I'm listening to audio podcasts on the way in and way to home work. I'm looking at blogs. I'm reading your newsletter. I'm paying attention, because as a critical thinker, don't get seduced by technology. Focus on the results. So regardless of your role, if you're an owner, an executive, a leadership, a staff, or maybe you're working in culture, it doesn't matter what department you're in, these tools can help. Back to you.
Yeah. So I say, you also have to have a committee, right? You need to put together a team in your business whose responsibility it is keep us up to date on what, not what's available, because what's available is millions. It's what do we care about? What's available to help us create efficiency, because that's really what these generative AI systems do, create efficiency as it relates to primarily operations, sales, and marketing. Now, if you're a solopreneur, then I think it's important that you have a mastermind group, or you get together with people. It could be getting together with different business leaders in your community, or like us, fellow colleagues who are speakers. What's working out there? What's not working? What are the cool things? So that's from a leadership perspective, because there's zero chance you can do it on your own. It's just changing way too fast. Then I think, so a little self-promotion, some of the AI tools I've developed, there's a free website called You Got Intel, YOUGOTINTEL, yougotintel.com. And at You Got Intel, I've built a number of different research tools that you can use that are all AI based. So for example, You Got Lists. You can go in, type in a job title, a location, and then in a pull down menu, you can choose membership directories, competitor lists, customer lists, whatever kind of list. There's another one called You Got the News. I found Google News is awesome, but it misses a lot of information. So I built my own news search engine. You Got Docs, which allows you to type in a word and it uses AI to search for only PDF documents, PowerPoint presentations, whatever you're looking for. You Got Sites allows you to mine the hidden information that's available on most every website. So yougotintel.com, it's a free tool. And then if you wanted a kind of an upgrade to that, I built a system called the Intel engine. Horrible branding for it. I apologize.
It's all right. We'll let it go.
It's Intel NG. Yeah, thank you. It's Intel INTEL engine NGIN. Intel NGIN.com. Where I built I've got about 50 of them on that site. I think there's a dozen of the most popular ones that are very laser focused on finding decision makers in an industry, the exact decision makers you care about, sales triggers, company information, and then each industry one, I built a library that only searches the top credible publications. So that's on the AI side. The generative AI side, there's a free site I've developed called Follow Up GPT. So the website is gptfollowup.com. One of the strategies I teach in my keynote presentation is that you got to stay in touch with people in ways that are relevant to what they care about. Most people don't even move their sales process until at least the 5th to 12th connection attempt. Now, I'm not saying buying. It's like you got to connect with people 5 to 12 times. Well, how do you stay in touch with people? Right? You ready to buy, ready to buy, ready to buy? That kind of gets annoying. So this system will help you find a relevant article or research report. Then you log back in and it crafts a message. Oh, I'm interested in, so let's say I find a report, Ford, you just won a new award. I can go in and the pull down menu can say personal congratulations. Type in Ford, type in Sam, and then all I have to do is paste in the website of the article or a research report. Some of these research reports are 300 pages. The system will automatically go out and read the article or read the report, and in seconds, craft a relevant response based on what you've chosen. Personal congratulations, company congratulations, thought you'd be interested. And then what I develop is I actually build custom versions of that for companies that incorporate their values, their service offerings, their products, and it aligns. This is the crazy part. It aligns the relevancy of the article to the unique differentiators of the company. So long-winded way of saying those are just a couple of free tools out there, and we can only imagine what I'm going to build, what you're going to build, what the world's going to build. That's why, again, getting back to, you need to have a committee keeping you on top of this, because there's no way you can do it on your own.
Yeah, and it really comes down to being that critical thinker. What are the top challenges you're facing in your organization, and not getting seduced by technology, because you can go down the technology rabbit hole.
Yes, exactly.
And you can end up spending a lot of money on a lot of systems, and you get seduced by the bells and whistles. And just because a colleague of yours is using one tool doesn't mean it's the best tool. And you really want to ask yourself, what's the highest and best use of my time? And so again, this show, Fordify Live, that we go live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And today's guest, of course, is Sam Richter, digital information expert, Hall of Fame speaker, Sam Richter, SAMRICHTER.com. The reason I'm saying that is people listen to the podcast and they want to be able to find it later. We will be using, when we're done with this episode and it goes live, then I take this episode and I get a transcription of it using an AI program called Saeks. And then I say, I'm Ford Saeks, the host of the Fordify Live show. I just had a podcast interview with Sam Richter. Here's Sam's website. He mentioned a lot of tools in this episode. Please create an SEO optimized description for YouTube with emojis and hashtags, and give me a summary list, and then give me 3 social media posts to help promote this. Write the thank you letter to Sam for being a guest on the Fordify show, and I'm going to have this complex conversation, have it produce the assets for me, because I could actually go and I could say, this was a great episode I did with Sam, create a lead magnet with the top 10 questions I need to do in my business based on this episode, and then make sure you put in the bonus links with a short description in a non-technical format so that a layperson at a 9th grade level can understand how to use these tools, and so again, we're giving you the prompts, but it's garbage in, garbage out. So I don't just say, give me a show summary. I'm going to say, give me a show summary with the key takeaways. And then once it's done, I'm going to say, what else did we miss that we didn't talk about that we can turn into bonus takeaways? Because the generative AI understands that we're talking about ChatGPT and prompt engineering and leveraging our business and the three buckets. Sam mentioned two of them. He said operations and marketing. And I like to add three buckets. It's operations, which covers leadership, HR, culture, team building, management, right? That's the operations bucket. And then the marketing bucket, which is the purpose of marketing is to generate the opportunities, and the sales is to close those opportunities. But in marketing, as we would both say, marketing is just giving people enough information they can make good decisions. It's not hype or manipulation. It's what's the right words to use. And ChatGPT is a great way to rewrite your landing page copy, rewrite your proposals, So it's the use cases and the takeaway is if you think it, you can do it. And the third bucket is customer experience. So you can map out your customer journey. You can do a competitive SWOT analysis between you and your competition. And then you can say, gee, how can I create a better customer experience? And that's where Sam's program, what was the link again? Follow up chat.
It's gptfollowup.com.
Okay, so gptfollowup.com. So I'm saying this again so that when the AI reads the transcription, it will give me the link and the URL. So, you got to ask yourself, how do you create it? I mean, one of the things, and I'm going to go to the questions, I'm going to play a couple really short videos for you guys during this episode. So I used AI a couple different ways. So one, I created my own avatar. So I'm going to share with you, all I did was put my text into a program and said, create a video for me. So here's a short video. Hey, Ford, your instant avatar is ready. Feel free to create videos with it. Also, click the feedback button to share what you think. Hope you enjoy. So that's a video that I created strictly from using AI. I'm going to play another short one. Now, this one, I'm only going to play a few clips, a few seconds of it because you got it. But this was a video that I did in English. Then I uploaded it and I said, convert this to Spanish, but I could have picked any language.
Hola, Ford Saeks aquí, Orlando. Hablaré acelerar crecimiento.
So I don't know how to speak Spanish.
Oh, good.
And then I did one.
What system were you using?
I'll share with you in a second. So then I wanted to show how to use this more effectively. So I'm going to play this one. Now this video has a little bit longer introduction. So just if you're watching this, great. And if you're on the podcast, you'll have to watch the video later. There's really only 4 ways to grow a business. Number 1, you want more clients, but we don't want more clients. We want higher value clients. Número 2, aumentar la transacción promedio. Sucede al agrupar o à moyenne. Et numéro 3, comment augmentez-vous les ventes répétées et de recommandations? Ein Wege, dies zu tun, ist die Nutzung von KI und ChatGPT. 専門家でビジネスを成長させる方法。だから、シンプルに保ち、とで複雑。So that was one video that I used in a training, and I was able to convert it to Spanish, French, German, and Japanese. And it actually isn't that bad. I mean, it's using my voice.
It's scary how good it is.
It is scary. So now the avatar wasn't that close, but the other one, speaking those languages, if you're doing a video, especially if there's graphics on the screen, just think about how could you use ChatGPT to do multilingual, because ChatGPT will give you text-based and photo-based.
Yeah.
But now there's all these derivatives that'll actually create video content and scripts. So that whole script. So even the closing for this episode, when we get ready to close in a few minutes, the narrative for my closing on this is all done with AI, even the voiceover. So I'm going to play this again. This is the introduction that we used here. This was all AI. So you can kind of tell, but it's not bad. Watch.
Welcome to Fordify Live with your host, Ford Saeks.
So instead of paying a voiceover actor, I literally was like, I need a branded, I'm talking about branding. I don't have anything branded. I didn't want to take the time for my team. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, here's my show. Give me a stinger and give me the voice. And I went into it. So the program that I use for doing this, I use 2 different programs. One's called HeyGen.
HeyGen,
and
okay.
There's a link you can go to. It's a bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/HeyGen video, HeyGen video, all one word, all one URL. Now that is an affiliate link. I think I get a credit if you go and you sign up. But and the other one I use is Synthesia, and there are a lot of people that have white labeled Synthesia and try to charge you $5,000 to go make an avatar. That avatar I created was $99 in HeyGen, and it's good. So, I use Synthesia and HeyGen. I used to use Synthesia because of all the different things it did, but I found HeyGen to be better. HeyGen doing the multi-language. Oh my God. It's just unbelievable.
Now, the other thing, because I think a lot of the listeners or viewers are probably watching what you just showed and what I just talked about, and they said, okay, well, I think I can fire my entire staff. I can just do all of this.
Let's go there. Keep going.
And I think that's a real fear that people have, right? That ChatGPT, and Ford, it's almost a cliche now, right? ChatGPT is not going to take your job. People who know how to use ChatGPT are going to take your job. And there's probably some truth to that. But I think there's really two components of this technology that's really growing at light speed that we always have to keep in the back of our mind. One is, what are going to be our unique differentiators? So if I don't have to write a script anymore, do proposals, do sales letters, SEO, I mean, some of the things you described that you're going to be doing with this episode is probably a full-time job for somebody. Now you can do it in a generative AI system. So what do we as humans, for lack of a better term, have as our differentiator? And I believe that while Alan Turing said, and I'm going to paraphrase, back in the 1950s, that we'll know if machines have made it when a human can't tell the difference between a machine and a human. I think we're there. So if that's the case, what are we good for? And here's what I believe. It's your ability to be human. It's your ability to listen. Your ability to, oftentimes, Ford, I know you've worked with clients where they're asking you a question, but based on your experience, that's not the question that they ought to be asking. Generative AI can't love. It can't care. And so I think, is getting back to being what a business leaders have to think about. All right, we can use all of these tools to really automate, for lack of a better term, a lot of these even creative tasks. We'll probably won't be as good as a human, but oftentimes 90% of good enough is good enough. So then where we have to put our intellectual capital is to providing value, listening, understanding, helping people, guide people. So I think that's really important. So as a leader, think about what kind of people do you need to hire and what kind of thinking do you need to have within your organization. The second core component of this is the ethics. There are no rules. Okay, I know the White House just came out with a bunch of rules yesterday, and courts are going to rule on things. Ford, you and I both know exactly. By the time the rules get implemented, the technology is going to be so far advanced, the rules will be irrelevant. So you as a business leader need to figure out what's good in your company. What are you going to allow in your organization? You need to have, I think, like you may have a code of ethics within your employee manual. I think you need to have a code of generative AI. Ford, you talked about it earlier. Am I allowed to put in personal client data into ChatGPT? I don't know. I don't know where that information goes. So therefore, do you need to purchase a system that resides on your own servers? Now, the good news is Microsoft understands this. Google understands this. They're coming out with tools that will make that available. Amazon with Amazon Web Service, of course, they're going to come out with.
Yeah, and ChatGPT has the enterprise model now that you can so that you can work in a closed geo-fenced environment.
Mm-hmm. So that will be important. And then the other thing is, like, do you even have to tell people? So, for example, and you have to make these ethical decisions. If you write a blog post and you have a byline, but ChatGPT wrote 90% of it, do you have to tell people that? I'm not judging, and I'm not even suggesting that I have the answers. But those are the questions that business leaders are going to need to start asking.
Yeah, I agree. And and just to put a bow on some of those things, so I tell people, of course, I say the same thing. AI is not going to replace humans, but it's going to replace humans not using AI. But what I would say more importantly is, it's going to replace the automated tasks, but it's going to make the personal experiences more valuable. So it's going to improve the in-person events. So as a keynote speaker, I'm not worried about that because I think it's going to make the in-person events even more valuable because people are going to be able to get data everywhere, but they're going to be able to go to an event. So it's going to make personal events even more valuable. Again, you talked about it not being able to love it. And to me, it doesn't have empathy. It doesn't have the ability to listen, and it's not really good with humor. And so there's still a need, but the important thing is, are you being a critical thinker leveraging this tool, and are you creating the best practices? Now I'm going to throw up a slide, and as soon as I throw this slide up, it's going to cut the audio out for 2 seconds. So on the screen right now, let me hit the button. So this is the ethical considerations. You need to conduct ethical assessments in your company. You need to have privacy regulations. You need to implement ethical guidelines. And just like Sam's been talking about, you need to stay informed on what this topic really is. And that's why I'm so glad that, you participated today in this episode, and we'll have Sam back in a future episode. So any closing thoughts? Again, this is Sam Richter. You can go to SamRichter.com, 2 Minnesota boys. And any closing thoughts that you have for our listeners, and then we'll wrap it up.
I think a lot of people are scared of this. It's like we just talked about. Is it going to take my job? But we think about, when the automobile came out, I'm sure the people who shoot horses were afraid this is going to take my job. They figured it out. The most recent example, so I used to have an advertising agency, and I did a lot of work in real estate. And oh my goodness, do I remember when Zillow came out, right? But no one's ever going to need a real estate agent anymore. And you know what? If you were a real estate agent and the only thing you did was show MLS listings, printed them out on a computer and sent, then you were probably out of a job. But real estate agents adapted. They realized that the MLS listing isn't really what somebody cared about. What they really cared about is, I, as a real estate agent, we're going to sit down. I was going to listen. What do you care about? Same thing with generative AI. It's coming at us way faster. But if you can focus on the value that you can provide, that can't be replicated via a machine, because remember, this is just a machine making predictions. What is the value you can provide? That's where you're going to differentiate yourself moving forward. Then you can use these technologies, AI and generative AI, to augment and supplement and create massive efficiencies within your business.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for joining us again and again. We tune in every week. I'm going to go ahead and play the outro in just a second. Thanks so much, Sam.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with you.
Thank you for tuning in to Fordify Live. Make sure to like, comment, and share this episode on your favorite social media platform. And don't forget to subscribe to the Business Growth Show podcast, available wherever you get your podcast streaming fix. We air weekly at 11 a.m. Central Time. So until next week, keep pushing the boundaries and never stop growing.
And as a bonus, everybody, I did that.